Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown. It is the first Sunday in March. It's just about 10 a.m. Central Time, and this is our Sunday service. We meet on the first Sunday of every month for a special 30-minute opportunity for us to really take some quiet time to reflect, to renew, to get ready for the week. So let's get started. So we follow an agenda, just like a house of worship service, but we are non-denominational. We are just about the service of caregiving and how do we take care of ourselves during that particular life experience. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with our story. So I like to tell stories of family caregivers that I've connected with over the years, because remembering reminds you that you will be remembered for what you do. I think sometimes we kind of think, does this make a difference? And I think the knowledge, the fact that what you do will be remembered means it makes a difference. So today I wanted to talk about Judith. So Judith was a blogger on my online community that I used to own probably 13 years ago. And she cared for her husband, Nelson. And so she blogged about their life, but she did it in this really creative, unusual way. Her blogs were really photos of the outfits she wore to chemo, to doctor's appointments, to treatments. And her husband, her caree, Nelson, would take the photos. So in her blog post, she would post the photo of herself and what she wore, and she would give credit to the photo to Nelson, and then she would tell us what she was wearing. And she was a collector of clothes and accessories in a way that was an art collector. So she didn't just go to a store and purchase clothes that she put together into an outfit. She was very intentional about what she actually collected in terms of the clothes and the accessories that she wore. So she'd tell a little bit about where she got, for instance, her blouse or her dress. And then she would talk about the accessory that she had put on. And the accessories could be a brooch or gloves or hat. So when she went to these appointments, chemo, doctor's appointments, other kind of treatments for Nelson, she was dressed up. And it was such a beautiful way to express how she approached caregiving, which was she was going to bring her best into the experience. And even though she didn't necessarily talk about Nelson, he was so inherent, he was so ingrained in her experience because he was her photographer. I had a conversation on LinkedIn a couple of days ago with a family caregiver who talked about how she cared for her husband who had had a stroke, and he continued to care for her even after the stroke. That caregiving happens within a caregiving experience, that there is still giving and receiving between family caregiver and caree, which made me think of Judith because that's what she showed us in these beautiful blog posts. This amazing photo of her on her way out the door. Typically, it was the door behind her. The photo credit to Nelson, who was on the other side of the camera, who we never saw, but yet met, who we admired, who we loved just as she did because of how much he supported her and loved her. It's really beautiful. Just a nice way to express, I'm bringing my best. I'm keeping myself. And this is what it looks like during a caregiving experience. So that's Judith and Nelson. What I'll try to do is pull out, I probably don't have an archive of those blog posts. I kind of wish I had thought of that, but I don't. Otherwise, I would include a photo with this archive. But just know in your mind's eye that Judith looked stunning as she walked out the door with Nelson to whatever it is they faced together as she cared for him. She looked stunning. Every photo was stunning. Okay, so that's Judith and Nelson. Such a nice memory. Oh gosh. Yeah. All right, so now we move into gratitude for you. And I like this segue from a caregiving story into thanks for you, because I hope these caregiving stories are an opportunity for us to give thanks to other family caregivers who have gone before us, who in many ways changed how we talk about caregiving, how we think about caregiving, how caregiving can look. So thank you for all that you do day in and day out. Thank you for giving, and thank you for receiving, because the receiving part is so important. And thank you for the courage it takes to face your day and to go through your day. It takes a ton of courage. It can be exhausting because of all the courage you're putting out there. So know that, we see it, and we honor you for that. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Okay, so now we move into in memory of. It's a time for us to remember who's already died, what pieces of our care we've already lost, even though he or she may still be alive. And it's an opportunity for us to remember who we are too. So it's that memory of ourselves, that we still are a 3-dimensional, maybe even 4-dimensional being, even though caregiving seems like the only dimension of our life. We remember who we are. We remember who has died, and we remember what's been lost in terms of our caree. And we remember as a way to move forward, as a way to find. I think about remembering as a connection to what's lost in order to find what we need to keep going. So as you might remember, for instance, what's lost about your caree because of a disease process or a chronic illness or a recent decline, it's now your opportunity to also remember what's important about your caree. So what's lost also means that you can find. I think about St. Anthony, which is the patron saint of helping us find things. There's probably a much better description of St. Anthony, but that's basically what St. Anthony is in terms of our purpose in our life. We call out to St. Anthony when we need to find something. So when I helped my grandmother decades ago, when I would go to visit her, she would say, "I've lost my rosary. I need St. Anthony to help me." She always had a little statue of St. Anthony, but she never lost. And so we would ask St. Anthony for help, and then I would know where to look, and then we would look for the rosary in this one spot where there always was one. And we would pull out the rosary, and she would give thanks to St. Anthony. So know that what's lost isn't gone forever. There's something else we can find that connects us to love and comfort and support and being. We all have gifts we give to the world, regardless of where we are in a decline process, regardless of how close we are to the end of our life. We all have something to give to the world. And what's so amazing is you know that, and you find it, and you keep it. And in your memories, it stays alive. Okay, so now we move into our intentional question. So on Sundays, I publish a newsletter, which includes a question we can ask as we start our day. And it's a new question every week. But if you like a question and that's the only question you want to start to ask your day, I say go for it. So the question that I thought of for this week is, how can I check my pressure? And it really was inspired by last week. So last week, I have new partnerships that are going to be fabulous, but we have hit some rough road in those partnerships. And I was thinking about what can't I endure about where we are right now on this bumpy road. And I decided to set some boundaries. It really inspired last week's question as well. But I was much more, I don't want to say strict, firm. I decided basically I can't go further down this bumpy road. We've got to change course. And I was very direct, probably a little too direct, but I couldn't endure going forward on this bumpy road. That was it. I had had my fill of the bumps. Forget it with the bumps. There's an easier way, and we need to pivot to the easier way. And honest to goodness, once I figured out what I could no longer endure and what I needed in order to change the bumps into smoother road, things changed for me. I had more energy. I felt more alive. I felt more hopeful. I was no longer enduring. Instead, I was back to creating, which is really what I love to do. I love to create. And I think of creating opportunities, creating work, creating content, creating a better day. So when I can get back to creating, I feel more alive. I feel more fulfilled. So just that experience of saying, no more down this bumpy road, no more. Why are we enduring this? And to say we need to go to a smoother road, and here's what we need to do, and here's what I need to receive. Made me think, you know what, we probably should do some pressure checks pretty regularly, even every day. So if we take a moment during a day and say, what's my pressure point right now? What is too difficult for me to continue to endure? And maybe it's as simple as saying, I can't put off having lunch any later. I need lunch now. That's the pressure check about receiving nourishment. It could be a pressure check around a conversation that goes on and on and on. You think, forget it. We've got to stop. We have to agree to disagree. We've got to move on. It could be a pressure check around what you're doing and how you're doing it, and thinking, you know what? It used to work. Even last week it was still working, but it's not working now, and I need to make a change. So this idea we can check our pressure to see when the pressure is too high, when it's building, when it's becoming this weight on us, we can decide, I can release the pressure by making a different decisions, by maybe changing the structure of my day, or by just taking a few moments, because I need to release some pressure. So that's our intentional question for this week that you can use at the start of every day. How will I check my pressure today? And it could be that you decide at 3 o'clock every day, I'm just going to check my pressure. What's something that I'm enduring that I don't want to endure anymore about this day? And then how can you release the pressure? Okay, so that's it for today. That's our Sunday service. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. You are welcome to join me on the first Sunday. You can go to Caring Our Way to register to join me. It's free. I post the archive the next day, and I hope you find it comforting to have a service that's just about where you are in your life, in this life of caregiving. And it's this idea that, again, we can have many dimensions during this life of caregiving. Once we figure it out, we just have to give ourselves a little space and time to figure it out. And I hope this service gives you some space and time to figure it out. Okay, thanks so much. I'm Denise Brown. And again, go to caringourway.com to watch archives of our past Sunday services and to join me for our next live Sunday service, which happens on the first Sunday every month at 10 a.m. My time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.